fantastic week in Canada for squash. The Canadian men's team won the silver in the Pan American Games, and they beat Mexico in the finals. And our women's team won the gold, beating Colombia. So squash is really on the up and up at the moment in Canada. And I'm fortunate enough today to have Fred Reid, the national sales manager of Black Knight. Fred, great to see you here.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming in.
Barb.
You know, you've always been so supportive of me. I'm really thrilled that you could come here and just to talk a little bit. And when I was thinking about rackets, I thought, my God, the most knowledgeable person that I could find would be you, because you've been around rackets all your life, right?
I've been around a few of them for many years.
Yeah. Well, we won't go there.
Yeah.
Fred, the biggest thing that the challenge I have is this. So people come to me in the club. Maybe they've been playing tennis and they've decided they want to play squash, or maybe they've just decided they want to play squash and know nothing about it. And they come to me with this racket, and you know what I'm going to say,
yeah.
right? And they say, "What do you think? Do you think this is a good racket?" And it's their first experience, and I can't really say to them straight off the bat, you know, no, that's not good. So I thought it would be useful. Could you give our viewers just some points on what to look for in terms of a racket, and what to look for when they're buying a racket?
Yeah, Barb, I mean, it's a really good point. The squash player right now has basically two choices. You've got an aluminum racket and you have graphite rackets. The first thing you want to do is decide whether you can be playing squash a lot or just casually, recreationally once a month or so. The advantage of an aluminum racket is inexpensive, but the problem is aluminum rackets are heavy, they vibrate, and can cause some tennis elbow problems, shoulder problems, that sort of thing. So if you're serious about playing squash, I would invest in a graphite racket. It's lighter. You're going to get more power, it's more forgiving, and it'll give you it'll be a more enjoyable experience. So I would go to a graphite racket, and you can talk to your pro about whether you want a racket that's a little more flexible or a little stiffer, depending on your game. But if you're just starting out, get a medium stiff racket, and don't get the cheapest racket, because if you're going to be playing a lot, you're going to grow into the game, and you're going to grow into the racket. And the last thing you want to do is have to buy another racket 2 months in.
Yeah, to me, if you buy a bad tool at the beginning and then you suddenly realize that you've got something that you don't like,
it gives you a bad experience.
Absolutely. And so if I was walking into a pro shop, what would I look for? Are there any telltale signs that show me that it's an aluminum racket, not a graphite racket?
Yeah, we're getting pretty crafty in our in the manufacturing of rackets. We've got aluminum rackets that we can make to look like a graphite racket. This is your standard aluminum racket, and you can tell right off the bat because it has two shafts, and the twin shafts, immediately you can tell that's an aluminum racket. A good way to find out if it's an aluminum racket or a graphite racket is to touch the racket. An aluminum racket or a steel racket will be cold to touch, and a graphite racket or graphite composite is warm to touch. The other thing is just knock it with a pen or your ring or anything else, and if you hear the metallic sound, you're pretty well guaranteed it's going to be an aluminum racket. That and price. If the racket's $40, generally you're looking at a aluminum racket.
That's great. I never knew that about touching the racket with my ring. That's really cool.
Really simple. Yeah.
Simple. The other question that I have for you is, if I was thinking about playing doubles as opposed to singles, would I choose a different racket? What would I be looking for?
Yeah, another good question. Doubles, a doubles player is going to be looking for a racket that's a little bit stiffer. A doubles ball is heavier than softball, and a softball. So you want something that's going to withstand the pressure of the shot. So you're going to want something with a little bit more stiffness. You'll also want a racket, generally for doubles players, you want a racket with a bridged frame. And a bridged frame is basically this yoke piece here. What that does is creates a bigger sweet spot width-wise. A teardrop style, where there's no bridge, the main strings are long, your sweet spot or the power zone of the racket is narrow and long. But with a bridge frame, because it's wider, and with a doubles ball or a doubles game, the ball is coming off the sidewalls very quickly, so you're tending to miss the shot on the side of the racket. So you want a wider sweet spot. So that's the big advantage. You want something with a little bit of weight in the head to counteract the weight of the ball, and you want some stiffness.
And when you say you're tending to miss-hit the ball,
yeah.
You didn't mean you.
Oh, God, no.
That's what I thought.
Never hit a shot I didn't mean to.
Fred, that has been really, really useful. Thanks for taking the time to come and visit us.
My pleasure.
And we look forward to seeing you again on helpmysquashgame.com.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I'd like to go on now to some training tips. I've had a number of people who've asked me about how can I improve my game, and they don't really want to drill. There's a simple way. All you have to do is start looking at your game and really analysing it. And truthfully, you've got to be honest. Ask yourself, let's say, what you do at the front forehand corner. And if you find you're always hitting cross-court length, then my suggestion to you is take that choice away. Try and play somebody who's not as good as you, but say to yourself when you go up to that shot that you have to hit straight. You're not allowed to hit one cross-court. If you start doing that, you'll start to build that choice into your game, and eventually what you'll find is you'll have that choice in a match where you really need it, and your cross-court won't be that default shot that you go to. So there's my training tip for today, and I'm going to just go on to Ask Barb. Now, each week viewers ask questions about various parts of squash, and the question that I got for today that I want to address is from Don. And what Don says is, the big one is on lets and strokes, and he says the big one on strokes for me is the phrase, and the player is able to make a winning shot. How can you be sure of that? Well, first of all, as far as rules are concerned, I want to recommend that you go to your association. Each association has clinics, they have rules clinics, they have ways of teaching you the rules. And actually for doubles, if you went to my website, racketdrills.com, you will see a whole bunch of videos which explain the doubles rules and their interpretation. But as far as singles and doubles is concerned, one thing you really need to understand about the rules is they're designed for a fair outcome. So, if a player is hit when the ball is travelling directly to the front wall, the striker gets the point. Therefore, it's a winning shot. So when I take that question and it says, and the player is able to make a winning shot, the next thing I say is, could you hit him with the ball and the ball go directly to the front wall? Because if you could, that's a winning shot. So when you're playing and you're in that situation and the guy asks for a let, really turn around and rapidly give him the point and say thank you. Thank you for not hitting me. I'm happy to give you the point, and I assure you your game will be much more fun. Anyway, this is Barb Cooper signing off from helpyoursquashgame.com. And Fred, once more, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Barb.